Lecture 21, Education on Gore. Knowledge Caste and the Training of the Young. A lecture by Sarakin Thorne. Part 1 Opening. Masters, mistresses, free men and free women, Kajara and Kajari, I greet you. You know me. Sarakin Thorne, 43 years a Gorian, once a publisher, always an explorer, and today I want to speak about something that most Gorians take for granted, and most newcomers never think about: education. How do Gorians learn? Who teaches them? What do they learn and what is kept from them? These are not idle questions. They cut to the heart of what Gore is and what it is not. This lecture will not be comfortable. It will challenge what you think you know about teaching, learning, and the caste system. That is the point. The circle is open. Part 2, the two knowledges. Before we speak of schools, we must speak of knowledge. The Gorians divide knowledge into two categories. The first knowledge, the second knowledge. The first knowledge is for the low castes. It contains what they need to live: farming, herding, crafting, trading. It is practical, it is sufficient, it is not complete. The second knowledge is for the high castes. It contains history, science, philosophy, medicine, law. It is theoretical, it is powerful, it is dangerous. The second knowledge is not forbidden to the low castes, but it is not taught to them, and without teachers it remains out of reach. The high castes guard the second knowledge as a smith guards his steel, not because they are cruel, because they believe the low castes would not understand, because they fear what would happen if everyone knew everything. The result: a society divided by knowledge, not just by birth, and the division begins in childhood. Part 3, First Schools, the Blue Caste. Before a child enters the caste of their parents, they go to school. Not a school like you know from Earth. No buildings named after benefactors. No playgrounds, no cafeterias. A room, a teacher, a scroll. The teachers are of the blue caste, the scribes. They are the only caste trained to teach. They know reading, writing, arithmetic, history as much as the local city deems necessary. These schools are not free, but most parents send their children. Because a child who cannot read is a child who will always need help, and on Gore, needing help is a weakness. What they learn: reading and writing Gorian, basic arithmetic, counting, weights, measures, the history of their city, legendary U-bars, famous battles, the home stone, the caste system, who is who and why it matters, the priest kings as the masses know them, how long they stay. Some children stay for 2 or 3 years. Others, especially those destined for the low castes, leave earlier. The brightest may be invited to continue, but that invitation is rare, and it comes from the blue caste itself. The quality of teaching. The blue caste is the caste of scribes, clerks, lawyers, and teachers. They take their role seriously, but they are not trained as teachers in the modern sense. They are trained as scribes. Teaching is one of their functions, not their only function. As a result, the quality of education varies greatly from city to city. A city with a strong scribe caste produces better teachers. A city with a weak scribe caste or a corrupt one produces mediocrity. And in small villages, there may be no school at all. In those places, children learn from their parents or not at all. Part 4, Caste training, learning to wear the color. After the first school, the child enters the caste of their father, or in some cases their mother, though that is rare. This is not a suggestion. This is the law. Castes are hereditary. A child of the red caste becomes a warrior. A child of the builders becomes a builder. A child of the peasants becomes a peasant, but the system is not completely rigid. It is possible to change your caste. If a young man shows exceptional skill in a profession different from his father's, he may petition the high council of his city. His qualifications are examined. The new caste is consulted. If both approve and if the proper bribes are paid, though no one speaks of this, he may be permitted to change. Once, Gorians are proud of their caste. They do not change lightly. To change caste is to admit that you do not belong where you were born. It is rare. It is difficult. It is expensive. But it is possible. Women in caste. A free companion may take the caste of her companion. This is one way a woman can raise her caste from low to high, from peasant to scribe. But a man cannot take the caste of his free companion. The system is not symmetrical, and it is not designed to be fair. The exception of the wagon peoples and Torvaldslinders. The system I have described is the system of the cities. The wagon peoples do not have castes. The Torvaldslinders have different traditions, but in Midhelger, in the civilized heart of Gore, the caste system rules, and it rules from birth. How the training works. Each caste trains its own. The red caste trains its youth in barracks and war camps. The blue caste trains its scribes in scriptoriums and archives. The yellow caste trains its builders on construction sites and drafting tables. The green caste trains its physicians in clinics and cylinders of healing. The white caste trains its initiates in temples and in secrets. The training is practical. It is hands-on. It is harsh because life on Gore is harsh. Apprenticeship. Most training takes the form of apprenticeship. A young caster follows a master. He watches. He learns. He helps. He makes mistakes and is corrected. After several years, sometimes 5, sometimes 10, he is tested. If he passes, he becomes a full member of the caste. If he fails, he may try again, or he may be cast out to join the low castes or to become an outlaw. A word on outlaws. An outlaw is a free person who has abandoned his caste. He is banished from his city. He loses his home stone. He lives in the wilderness, in the forests, in the mountains, in the margins of civilization. Few choose this path. Life without caste is life without protection, and on Gore that is a short life. The role of the low castes. The low castes train their young similarly. A potter teaches his son to make pots. A leather worker teaches his daughter to cure hides. A metal worker teaches his apprentice to shape steel. But the low castes have no formal schools beyond the first. Their training is entirely practical, and entirely within the family or the workshop. The result is a society where knowledge is passed down, not spread out, and where mobility is possible but not easy. Part 5. Regional differences. Not all Gore is alike. The system I have described is the system of Midhelger, the civilized heart of the continent. The cities of Ar, Koroba, Thentis, Port Kar, they follow this system. But Gore is large, and not all regions follow the same rules. The Tahari. In the Tahari Desert, there are no formal schools. Children learn from their parents or from the elders of their tribe. The desert teaches what the blue caste cannot, survival. Literacy is low, but knowledge of water, of stars, of sand, that knowledge is deep. And it is passed down, generation to generation, by word of mouth. Torvaldslind. In the north, the Torvaldslinders have their own traditions. They value strength over letters. They value courage over learning. A young Torvaldslinder learns to sail before he learns to read. He learns to wield an axe before he learns to write his name. Scribes are rare. Teachers are rarer. But every longship is a school, and the sea is the master. The plains of Tyria. The wagon peoples have no schools at all. They are nomads. Their children learn from the tribe and from the harsh life on the plains. The codes of the wagon peoples are passed down in stories, not scrolls. History is spoken, not written. and the young learn by watching the old and by surviving. The rainforests of Shendi. In the equatorial jungles, the tribes have their own forms of education. Shamans teach the young about spirits and herbs. Hunters teach tracking and stealth. Women teach weaving and pottery. There is no blue caste, no second knowledge, but there is wisdom, hard-won and carefully kept. The lesson. Gore is not uniform. What works in R does not work in the Tahari. What is taught in Port Car is unknown in Torvaldsland. The blue caste may be the teachers of the cities, but in the wilderness Gore teaches its own, and its lessons are written in blood, not ink. Part 6. Women and Education. The education of women on Gore is complicated. High caste women. High caste women may receive the same basic education as their brothers. They learn to read, to write, to count, but they are not trained in caste professions in the same way. A woman of the scribes may assist her father, but she is unlikely to be accepted as a full scribe. The caste codes limit her. The traditions limit her. The society limits her. The exception is the caste of physicians. Women of the Green Caste are commonly trained, but with a condition. They must bear 2 children before they are admitted to full practice. This is to ensure the caste does not lose intelligence over generations. A woman of the physicians wears 2 bracelets on her left wrist at age 15. When she bears her first child, 1 bracelet is removed. When she bears her second, the second bracelet is removed. Then, and only then, may she enter full practice. Low caste women. Low caste women rarely receive any formal education. They learn from their mothers cooking, weaving, cleaning, bearing children. They are not expected to read. They are not expected to write. They are expected to serve. There are exceptions, of course. A merchant's daughter may be taught to keep accounts. A warrior's daughter may be taught to defend herself. But these are exceptions, and exceptions prove the rule. Slave women. Slave women may receive training but not education. They are taught to serve, to dance, to please. They are not taught to think. They are not taught to question. A slave who can read is a slave who is dangerous. Therefore, slaves are rarely taught, and those who already know how to read learn to hide it. Part 7. Visible technology, what everyone knows about. Not all modern technology on Gore is hidden. Not all of it is considered divine. Many devices are simply tools, produced by the builders, used by the high castes, and accepted as ordinary. Light bulbs. Light bulbs are manufactured by the builders. Physicians have them in their clinics. They need to see clearly during surgery. Administrators and U-bars have them in their private chambers. They work late. They need to read. Libraries have them because open flames are dangerous near scrolls. A light bulb is not a miracle. It is a product. You buy it. You install it. You replace it when it burns out. Medical devices. Physicians have diagnostic tools, simple ones compared to Earth, but advanced enough to measure pulse, temperature, blood pressure. They have scalpels that cauterize as they cut. They have devices that stimulate healing. These are not miracles. They are instruments. They are cleaned. They are sharpened. They are repaired. Slave goads and tarn sticks. These are tools of control. They hum. They sting. They are feared but not as gods, as weapons. A slave cannot buy a goad. A slave cannot build a goad, but a slave feels the goad, and that is enough. Elevators, sliding doors, electric cooling. These exist in the great cities. A builder installs them. A U-bar enjoys them. A merchant may have them if he can afford the price. They are not miracles. They are infrastructure. Who has access? A U-bar has electric lights in his palace. A physician has them in his clinic. A scribe has them in his library. A builder has them in his workshop. A peasant has a rushlight. A slave has darkness. This is not unfair. This is the caste system. And the caste system decides who gets what. Part 8, BTB Plus. What changes for education? The books give us the skeleton of the Gorian education system. BTB Plus allows us to add flesh and occasionally metal. Modern technology in education. Do the schools use modern technology? The answer is rarely, but sometimes. The Blue Caste teaches reading with scrolls, not tablets. The builders teach drafting with charcoal and vellum, not CAD. The physicians teach anatomy with cadavers and drawings, not holograms. Why? Because technology is controlled. The high castes have access. The low castes do not. And the schools serve both, but they serve them differently. Exceptions for role play. A wealthy school in R might have light bulbs. A library might have electric lighting because scrolls are flammable. A U-Bar's private library might have a heating device because winters are cold. But these are exceptions. Most schools are lit by oil lamps. Most students learn by candlelight. And most Gorians never see a light bulb until they enter the service of a high caste. How this affects role play. For your character or for your sim, you may add a library with electric lights because the scribes protect their scrolls. A clinic with diagnostic devices because the physicians heal faster. A U-Bar's palace with sliding doors because he can afford it. A builder's workshop with power tools because he builds the city. But remember, a peasant does not have a light bulb. A slave does not have a diagnostic device. A merchant may pay for a power tool, but the builders may refuse to sell it to him. The limits of BTB Plus. No computers in classrooms. No tablets for students. No internet on Gore. No spaceships in the sky except those of the priest kings. BTB Plus is not about adding modernity. It is about adding depth. And depth comes from understanding who has what and why. Part 9, the limits of the system. The Gorian education system is not designed to produce engineers. It is designed to produce functioning caste members. The Blue Caste teaches what is needed for the first years of life. The caste elders teach the practical skills of the profession. But the theory behind the profession, the second knowledge, is taught only to those who are chosen. A young scribe may learn to operate a translator. He will not learn to build one. A young physician may learn to use a diagnostic device. He will not learn to repair one. A young builder may learn to install a light bulb. He will not learn to generate electricity. This is the limit of the system. It is not a bug. It is a feature designed to preserve the power of the high castes. The danger of education. In the books, knowledge is power. In BTB Plus, knowledge is dangerous. A low-caste man who learns the second knowledge threatens the order. A woman who learns to read threatens the patriarchy. A slave who learns to think threatens the slaveholder. These are not just story hooks. They are philosophical questions. What is the purpose of education? Who should have access to it? What happens when the uneducated demand more? These questions are not answered in the books. But they can be explored in your role play. Part 10, Closing the Circle. I have spoken, now I ask. What did you learn in your first school? What did they teach you and what did they hide? The Gorian education system is not designed to uplift, it is designed to preserve. It preserves the caste system, it preserves the hierarchy, it preserves the power of those who already have it. But education, real education, cannot be contained forever. Knowledge leaks, ideas spread, and once a mind is opened, it cannot be closed again. The Blue Caste teaches reading, but they cannot control what is read. The high castes guard the second knowledge, but they cannot prevent the curious from seeking it. The circle is yours, but remember, education is not the filling of a pail. It is the lighting of a fire, and fires once lit are hard to put out.